Stream. Or not the stream. Let's do it. It's live. It's already live. Can't go back now. I'm losing it. Let's hit the stream deck. Welcome back, my friends. Another body on the slab. Standard. This is an HP 15-F387WM, I believe. By the looks of it. Let's find out. No. Oh. Wrong looks. Okay, HP 15-R264DX. I was looking at the other HP here, and then I put this one over. Alright, let's check out what we got going on. Real quick here. Okay, so we have nothing on the work order. Except a piece of tape. And then we have this here with our address and phone number, which that's fine. And then the bottom number. So sometimes the freezes won't turn on, can't open in it. Other times it works fine. And the number we can call that. Check for ransomware, malware, viruses. So, random freezing. One thing we're going to do, we're going to give a check and see. Let me do this. We do it there. That doesn't work. Okay. We're going to check heat issues. It isn't on. Let's go ahead and remove the battery. And tear this down again. HP 15-R264DX. It's got a revision too. Revision 2336-120. Older HP Core i3 or i5? I forget. Let's find out. i3. So dual core i3, probably 2nd gen, possibly 3rd gen Intel. Screwdriver. Before we forget, we're going to take one of our plastic pry tools. We need to get under these 2 feet. The other ones we don't have to worry about. But on these models, you have to take these back caps here off. These little plastic covers, and to do that you need to get under the feet, just the outside edge it should be, and that will let you get access to the screw if you don't feel like unsticking the whole foot. Just gonna try and lift up. Nope, it's coming up. Restick it and go for the other one as well. Alright, screws on the outside, they should be the same size. As all the other screws, they should be the same size. Are they? I don't know. Let's find out. So we're going to do a quick tear down. It's mainly, and after you do so, you just simply, each of these plastic covers, slide back, pick up, good to go. Foot. Okay, so the screws are a different length. We're going to take the 2 for our caps and put them up there. The rest we'll throw in a separate magnetic pocket. Okay, so we're missing one from there. Pull out the ROM quick. And optical drive, I guess is a better term. Same size, same threads, no worries. We'll pull out one of the keyboard screws. There should be 2 or 3 on this one. One keyboard screw is here. Then one here. You can see the little picture of the keyboard. That should be it for screws that hold the keyboard down. We're going to have a problem with tearing this one down. We have a screw that, this little thing, the little metal, I call it a grommet, the little metal threading for the screw that's pushed in is loose. So we're going to try and squeeze it in order to enable us to get that screw out. Alright, it's just going to break loose. We'll reattach that when we get it open. Super late on the after hours here, but one of the last days we can do it, so for this week anyways. That appears to be all of the screws out except for this one under the optical drive. Let's go for the keyboard. Now that it's loose, we should be able to lift it fairly easy. I believe it's still held in possibly by an adhesive strip. Nope, just the edges. Just the edges. Alright, there's a few things to take care of inside. You have a couple ribbon cables and a few screws. Depending on the age of the computer, and not really the age, but if anybody's been inside it or not, they may peel this tape up, they may leave it there. Slight bit of adhesive holding down this ribbon cable. We are going to have to separate the palm rest from the bottom case, so we do need to unstick the ribbon cable there. This one is free, and we can leave the display cable for right now. Let's get those few remaining screws out. don't know, there's 4 or 5. If I'm not mistaken, they should be the same size as the bottom case screws. Yes, they are. Alright, and this is where our fun is going to begin. We're going to start popping this apart, but we still have that one screw stuck. So there will undoubtedly be some resistance. And we're going to try and glue that little metal thing back in. One thing that people want to do with these computers, and not so much this model. Let's take a moment and look at another model, one that I was thinking of, very similar. It has a door on the bottom there, that's how you can tell, a little different. Instead of pulling the computer apart after you get all the bottom case screws out, lift the keyboard and pull the screws out from under it, and instead of pulling it apart here, on the models, HP models, that's wild. And the models that are built like this, at least, it's going to separate on the top. When they're built like this, people have seen this and mistaken some of the computers that have made it into this shop, at least, that have went elsewhere. After they get the screws out, they try to separate it here, and you can snap it back together. You're undoubtedly going to break some plastic if you separate it here, and it will screw back together very oddly, goofily, weirdly. So when you get all the screws out of the bottom case, lift the keyboard and pull those screws out. Disconnect your ribbon cables on HP models built like this, like the HP 15F. Go to the top, not the bottom. On these models like this, and this is what did I say this was? A 15-R264DX. DX, sorry, not DS, DX. There is no seam along the bottom where they put the two halves of the case together, so you're not going to make that mistake. Pull it apart at the top. Continue with working our way along the edge. I don't even think it focuses that close. That will be that. At this point, you should be able to stand it up and work it free the rest of the way across the back. And the other side, see how broken our screw is. Is it just loose, or is it going to completely come out? Now that we can flex this a little bit and kind of bind that little brass piece or whatever it is, let's see. Yeah. Nope, it's out. It's broken. Alright. Here's our computer. while we have this out. So the plastic just flexed, wore out, stretched right there. Probably from moving the computer around, picking it up and grab it. You tend to grab it in that area. You can, unless you're grabbing the front. More often than not, it's the sides. So a little bit of flexing. I've seen a few of them come loose on this series anyways. We'll get that loose, and then we're gonna try and reattach that. Alright, we are a little loose now. While we are, we're going to take a moment, super glue that in. Something I find that works, and not with all plastics, is thick CA glue. Basically it's glue, like modeling glue for planes, when you're working with like carbon fiber or fiberglass, like G10, quadcopters, anything like that, anything flying. Some planes you can get EPA safe, or EPA, not EPA, EPP safe glue, which won't melt the foam, or maybe EPP is resistant. There's another one that isn't. If you put CA, like thick CA glue, thin, whatever, it's going to melt your foam for your models. But this stuff will melt some plastics. Be careful what you're working on. We're going to put a little here. A little bit goes a long way. I'm going to attempt to press that in a little bit. And carefully, very lightly, we'll lift out our screw. It's going to have glue on the threads and in. We'll get a cotton swab and attempt to remove some of that. Release the stuff from in where the threads are. That's what we want to hold our screws, so we've got to keep that kind of cleaned out. Afterward, I mean, look, we do it after. Let's do it now. There's a little around the edge. Again, down in around the edge is fine. Down in, we need it out. Okay, let's set this to the side and let it dry. We'll get the body back on the slab. Alright, the reason for pulling apart hard drive and then we're going to check our fan and heatsink while we're at it. The fan doesn't look too dirty. I expect the heatsink to be clean, but I have seen clean looking fans have a full layer of buildup of lint, hair, dust blocking the heatsink. So let's check this real quick while we're in here. I don't think we need to go further than that. Should we check the thermal paste? Something that is normally done. Ooh. Hard drive, and then let's see. Well cared for computer for its age. As you can see, let's get down in there. Not really any dust on that heatsink. A little bit on the bottom case, but other than that, it's fairly clean. You can see where there is a little dust on the fins, but not a lot. Alright, so it's one of the ever annoying fans that you can't pull apart. You can't pull apart to clean it. It's got the plastic weld there. Fans are cheap, but if you ever want to actually clean it out and it still works and do it thoroughly, it makes it harder not being able to come apart. Just get a long bristle brush. Or go the route that I have with quite a few computers. Chop the plastic welds off, find an old fan out of an older laptop from your scrap pile, and get one where the screws are removable. Drill some holes smaller than the thread of the screw. After you cut these off, drill down through where the plastic weld is, in line with the holes, and just wind the screw down in. They're usually kind of a small, coarser thread screw, so they'll thread right into a hole that's a little smaller than the actual screw. Not necessary, but I've done it many times. on fans. Overall, very, very clean computer. Alright, what's it going to take? Let's pull out our few remaining wires. We have speakers. So our speakers are there. Both wired into one. We have a few screws, our display cable. And finally, Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi. Just leave the card connected. Set our screw over there. Put your money down, place your bets. Is the thermal paste good? Or is it going to be dried out? Put your money down. Thermal paste good, or is it all dried out, going by the age of the laptop? Before we check it, let's get more of a clarification on age of the laptop. So January 2015 seems about right as far as what the hard drive says. And our optical drive, March of 2015. So 2015. Around about, what, 5 years? What's going to be the verdict on the thermal compound? Oh, it's shot now. I didn't take them off in a crisscross pattern to match the crisscross pattern going on. It's just shot. Put this one in the bin. Forget about it. Put it in the bin. Okay, so we did have some contact with the thermal compound, and the computer was on for a little bit. But I'm wondering, what is the watery looking substance there? What's that watery looking substance in it? I mean, it's thermal compound, but it's squished out quite a bit around it. So, dry or still pasty? We need this whole extra bit. Oh, definitely dried up. Alright, so we did find it in the budget to get room for a new tool. Well, I guess it was double-sided. There's me looking at it like, where does it go? How do we do this? It's not the right blade for it, but this blade will work. I like the other method better. I'm not impressed with the plastic razor blades, but there is a time and place for them. I don't think this is it. Definitely not. We're hitting all kinds of components. SMDs, surface mount devices. IPA. And there you have it. Nothing big and mysterious to a teardown. At least not with this model. Anytime you get a computer in, it's not new. If it's a few years old, hasn't been serviced by you or serviced somewhere else that you know of by asking your client, customer, your people that wants to spend some money at your place, at your spot. Good practice to go in and check the thermal compound. Something you have to do mandatory, no. But it's good in practice. Keep the heat coming out of the CPU transferring to the heat spreader, out the pipe, through the heat sinker, however it works in whatever system. Laptop, it's a what? Is it an ultralight mobile processor? It's probably not near as much heat as like a big desktop CPU, but still. Something you can do. Every little bit helps, right? I need grease. I'm probably going to end up putting just as much on as what was on there. Let's see. And mine is unmixed a little bit as well, so I'm going to try and mix some of the thicker stuff into more watery stuff. Thermal compound does separate after a little while, so you should expect a little bit of the runnier, waterier bit coming out. Too much. Let's make sure and do this right direction first try, right? Now for the rebuild. Or, no, not yet. We have some stuff to do with the hard drive. Remember putting your CPU heatsink, heat spreader, all that back on. Get out the torque wrench. Don't do what I'm doing. Do a proper torque wrench, 120 pounds. So if you really want it to stay on and make good contact on those CPU dies. Drop in frames. Negative. We are stuttering, buffering of some sort, at least with restream. Not looking good. The torque wrench was a joke. Just finger tight. Finger tight will suffice. Looks like 2 4-gig sticks of RAM. No. 4 and 2? Is that right? Is it running 6 gigs in this thing? Yeah, 2 gigs. And 4. Alright, while you check out the awesome parts of computer, I'm going to throw this into the toaster quick. And get that process going. Not something you can see, so. Alright, that procedure is going. The ghost come over and push this over, knock down my Phillips. on my cross screwdriver. Let's get this board put back in, get our fan installed. It's going to be hard. The power jack, okay. Right back in reverse order that we took it out. Don't forget your DC jack, that's a pain whenever you try your laptop later on and it doesn't want to charge the battery. Or power up without the battery. You gotta tear it back down just to plug your stupid DC jack back in. I need to restart this thing. Alright, indeed it was a restart. Oh, doesn't taste good. On to a fresh cold drink. There we go. One little piece of advice for if you work on, computers and whatnot, and you have ever done or will do or plan on doing many cloning procedures for people. If you find a good all-in-one, good desktop, good laptop that will let you run, like we have an older version of Cronus, and it doesn't have a problem with when the computer needs to restart, keep hold of that computer. This all-in-one we have here is great for cloning. With the tester and then the front side USB 3 port. Marvelous. Hold on to that computer at all costs. You will not regret it. Alright, the Cronus boot agent taking a moment to start up. But we'll keep going. There it goes. Let's get an accurate time portrayal. No time yet. This could be a long one, could be a short one. Alright. Back at it. We need to get this thing back in order. What is that? Acting goofy on that side. Yeah, that's the way it is there. Stick that down. We have to put our 2 motherboard screws back in and the Wi-Fi card. And hopefully Cronus works its magic. White triangle. and the other white triangle, and we'll finish connecting. We already got our ribbon cable, DC jack. We got to do our speaker, Wi-Fi card. Display cable is done as well. Wi-Fi. So let's not forget all important fan. So we need to figure out which way does that go in there. That was the right way, it was just down lower than it looked like. Okay. Where's our fan sit? Upside down, of course. Six minutes according to Acronis. It's probably lying to us. It'll take undoubtedly a minute or so longer, but much better time than Apple's about a minute and a half hour later, or about 15 minutes and 2 hours later. This fan wire tape, yeah, it was just literally tucked down in here. You know, what happens if we take that back out? And do one of these. Where we attempt to retain the wire with its own self. One, 2, 3, 1, 2. Speaker. Let's do a quick check on our. The glue appears to have dried up some. I'm not going to put the screw in super tight, just draw it down loosely when we put this back together. allegedly 2 minutes. So now seems like a pretty good time to start cleaning up some of our tools. We're not going to really need much for the rest of this repair. Examination. Call it what you will. Call it how you want to call it. Most of you can't really do anything until we get that hard drive. So alright, that time jumped back up from 6 minutes to 2 and back up to 3, and we're going to start counting down again. This appears to be a touchscreen. This complete rubber seal around the screen. It's not common on the other models that are non-touch screens. They just have these, but then again, some of the newer models, similar design to these, had a touchscreen, but it was literally didn't look like this. It was just looked like a normal screen, but it was touch. I don't know how well they fared over the years for longevity, but I know I've worked on quite a few. Alright, we're back to 2 minutes. It's not very rigid without the rest of it on there, but I'm guessing that was still balanced. We're going to check the screws on the hinges to ensure that they are tightened down. That one had a little bit of give to it, a little loose, but not enough that the other ones had worked loose. Alright, we're down to the seconds, 42 seconds remaining. And it counted back up to 1:23. It's bouncing all over the place. You have to love that accurate timing from Cronus. I already named the other suspect, the usual suspect. One thing that I've noticed, and doesn't hold 100% true through and through, but when you're dealing with cloning a hard drive, at least on a Cronus, more often than not, if the timer keeps skipping around and you're cloning 2.5 inch, 3.5 inch conventional mechanical hard disk drive, HDD, and you're cloning it to an SSD or cloning to another hard drive, if the drive you're cloning, your destination drive where you're cloning to, is new or known good, known new, and the other one's the used drive that you're cloning the data from, it's typically, it may not fail smart, but it is an aging drive getting slow. I've seen other things hold it up and have the timer skip around as well, but that's one thing I've noticed with drives that are aging, getting slow, starting to fail. That timer will jump around quite a bit. Well, there's not going to be anything left to clean up here. We don't get a Cronus's butt moving. Let's do the, nah, we can't even do the optical drive now. It goes in after the top case. Our palm rest goes on. Another thing that I find amazing, not that it counts or matters for anything, but is the number of partitions that OEMs put on hard drives. 6, 7, 8, 9 partitions. It's not necessary. But you know, when you have a product, you want people to experience your own method for recovering their computer, resetting it back to factory. So understandable, but just unnecessary. 3, 4 tops will do it. You don't need 9, 8, 7. You know what, that's a yucky screen. Let's clean that up while we're waiting on this drive. Get out some of the decks. We have some glass wipes here. You use this to get some of the grit off, hopefully. Is quite a bit on here. We got a pretty good wipe around with that. Let's go one step further. Alright, and that was our beep, whether you heard it or not. That was a Cronus finishing the last partition copy. 7 of 7 in this case, and our Acer getaway, or Acer, not getaway, Acer all-in-one, rebooting. There was a lot of film on this thing, as touchscreens will undoubtedly end up dirty. And our drive has spun down. Toaster. And we got our SSD. We have to. Ooh, that drive is warm. Okay. I mean, spin drives do get warm, so do SSDs. Don't let anybody tell you different, but where's the bearings acting up, going out? Would that explain freezing periodically, randomly, here and there? Man, that is warm. Let's get this SSD put in. There was a 1,000 thread screw there, if you didn't notice that. That was... What do we need? Everything is done in here, I think. Time for palm rest. But I don't want to squeeze too hard and flex that and break that glue. Let's work our way around and make that edge last. It's in. Alright, and we got it without flexing it. Nice. That's the good news. Let's get these screws in, get our optical drive seated. I'm used to picking up screws with a magnetic screwdriver, and then to have them in the little magnetic bins. You go to pick them up and just don't. You're like, what? And it takes a second, but you do catch on if you're slow like me, suffering from aging monkey brain. This one we have to be easy with. Let's try the one without glue on threads. There was still a bit of glue on those threads. This might be more willing to cut through the glue, and it is. The wrong size. Okay, we're going to flip this over and make sure the screw's up in enough by checking with the ROM. It can be popped with the emergency release. It does, and it doesn't. When it's sitting upright, the top of the tray isn't catching on the screw. It didn't go down quite as far as the other one due to the glue, but just simply pressing and that does release. So good news there. Let's continue our rebuild. There's one of these ones. Too much of a hurry there. Could have been a catastrophic mistake. No power button, no trackpad. No screws holding the case together. Not a good day. Not a good day. Good morning, good day, whatever you want to call it. Why does that not want to go in? I'm just getting thick on the one corner. There's not a lot to it. I'm going to say that's in. Now, keyboard. The palm rest screws go on the inside, silly boy. Keyboard. Work the top in. You can tell there are the audible clicks happening when you're pressing it. Let's take care of these two first. Not exactly the reverse order, but being that there's only what, two or three different size screws, these models are fairly easy to tear down and not get lost, even if you have to pick them all and bundle them up. I mean, come on, the Wi-Fi screw is silver. These two are a different length than all the rest that hold together. I think you'll have different size ones for the fan. The fan motherboard is the same size, so fairly easy to tear down, build up, even if you gotta come back to it weeks, months later. They say it's sitting for that long for who knows what reason. They want it fixed, but they haven't contacted you. Try contacting them, they don't answer. They still want to get it done. You're not sure. It's not yours. You can't scrap it. Very likely, very much has happened, dealt with in the past. So yeah, come back to it days, weeks, a month or so later. Not going to be hard to sort out screws and where they go. And we were missing this one. So we have to dig one more of these out. Because we have 2 screws left and 3, if I'm not mistaken, to go across the front. 1, 2, 3, with 2 left. Let's get one the same size. Let me think. You think about this one. Tell me here. We got 2 of those left. What do we think? That's about right, right? We'll put that one right dead center, right by the SD card, just to make sure it's squeezing that down and wind that through, right? So let's try this one. Oh no. That screw that we had to throw into the pile to put this back together with all of them, it's got some old red thread lock on it. Never be able to use it, it won't come loose. Two, three. Followed by we can see where a screw hole was. We'll put it down the same way. Same with this one. Screw hole was here. What do we forget? Got the fan for sure. Got the DC jack, Wi-Fi, all that's been done. Alright, we're pretty golden now. We're running on battery. Where is it? Let's get. Let's get our HP power. One of these. Use it. Get some assistance. Alright, we got people. Let's open up a folder in now. I don't like showing people, because you might recognize them. You think it's right. Anyhow, very different. I know it's an SSD versus an HDD or hard drive. That's a solid state drive versus a hard drive. I mean, it is pretty snappy here, I'm going to say. Let's get our USB to our super speed port. Let's try another port. Alright, works on that side. Works on this side, so we know when this is opened up, our fan is here. The motherboard ends here, optical drive here, hard drive is in this corner, little daughter board. This USB port was part of the main board, motherboard, not the little daughter board over here that was connected with the ribbon that runs under the disk drive area. So, this drive, the USB 3 connector, is a little wonky. Let's try a different drive on this side. This is our 7. Let's pull this and put it back in a few more times. No lucky for me. We don't even have any tools on here. What do we do on here? It's not USB 3 though. I think we wanted it there. Actually, that's good. We did. You saw the tear down. And the rebuild of an HP 15-R 264DX with touchscreen, Core i3. What are system specs real quick so we know what we're working with? 6 gigs of RAM. Check out the control panel. System is Core i3 5010U, CPU at 2.10 GHz, 6 gigs, 64, blah 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 blah. Device manager. So, Intel HD 5500 graphics, not bad. No Bluetooth, just your standard Wi-Fi with the 2.4 gigahertz channel. So, wow, no, we want to close the windows first. Fully charged at 100. System does have internet access, but it's being goofy. Okay, so something's still off. Wasn't the drive timing out. Upgrade was in the books though, so now we go for other things. Public network. So this automatic. Let's go web browse a little bit and see what's happening when we do that. Okay, it does pull up the Googles. We'll pick it up tomorrow. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Thanks for tuning in, clicking the button, coming over and hanging out with me. Late after hours, if you did. If you didn't, once again, if this is your thing, as always, this is what you do. Give somebody a hand, fix something up. Instead of buying new all the time. Make something old better, make it work again. Take it beyond its expected end of life. Revive it, reanimate it, whatever you want to call it. Do it, have fun doing it. Show somebody how to do it. Anyhow, that's it. We're ending this one for sure. See you again, my friends, most likely later today.